Before man drew breath, war broke out in heaven. Lucifer, the radiant light-bearer. Michael, heaven's unyielding warrior. The first clash shook eternity, but the dragon rose again. Now, heaven faces its greatest war. Light against darkness, faith against pride. Michael versus Lucifer. This is not legend, the clash that defined heaven and changed the earth. And if these battles stir your spirit, stand with us. Like this. What if your destiny was to command the armies of heaven in a war that would decide the fate of creation? History remembers kings rising and kingdoms falling. Yet above those thrones, greater wars were fought in the heavens, and their outcomes shaped the nations below. At the center of those battles stood Michael, the archangel, heaven's champion. He is called the Great Prince, commander of the armies of heaven, entrusted to guard the throne of God and the people chosen by God. His greatness was not born of ambition, but of incorruptible faith, of loyalty unbroken when rebellion tested heaven. When Gabriel, God's messenger to men, was blocked by the prince of Persia, Michael broke through so Daniel, a prophet exiled in Babylon, could receive a vision of hope. When the devil sought the body of Moses, Michael stood and ended the dispute with a single rebuke. Each time he fought above, hope survived below. When Michael rose, angels followed. When his sword was drawn, heaven rallied. He is the guardian who holds the line between light and darkness, the defender appointed to stand when no other would. In Jewish tradition, he is honored as Israel's defender. In Islam, he is Mikael, the angel of mercy who sustains life. In apocryphal tales, he appears as protector of the Virgin Mary and as guide of souls awaiting redemption. Always, he is seen as the champion who stands when none else can. Michael's faith was more than loyalty. It was the anchor that kept heaven secure when rebellion stirred. Yet even as Michael stood in faith, another presence turned to pride. His name was Lucifer, which means light-bearer. Once radiant among the highest angels, he now set his eyes on the throne itself. And Michael, heaven's shield, would one day face him in open war. Lucifer was unlike any other angel. His beauty was dazzling, his voice like music, his presence radiant like a star among stars. Yet what set him apart from Michael was clear. Michael's greatness was faith and obedience, but Lucifer's was pride. What had been given as a gift, he desired as his own. Pride rose in him, twisting honor into ambition and ambition into rebellion.
I will ascend above the stars of God. I will set my throne on high. I will be like the Most High.
This was the first rebellion. For the first time, heaven saw war. Harmony was broken and angels were divided. Some listened to Lucifer's promises of glory, others resisted his deceit. And one figure stood against him, Michael, heaven's warrior.
Lucifer, your pride has no place before the throne. The glory is not yours to claim.
The clash echoed through the courts of heaven. Lucifer fought with persuasion, drawing angels to his side. His voice promised thrones and crowns. His presence dazzled with the brilliance he once bore. But Michael fought with faith, steady and unshaken, commanding the loyal hosts to stand firm. Wings thundered, voices clashed, light against corrupted light. When it ended, Lucifer fell. This was his first defeat, his first fall from the heights. The light-bearer's brilliance turned to darkness, and his name became bound to rebellion. Michael's stand kept heaven secure, yet the adversary's hatred did not die. Cast down, he turned his gaze toward the earth, seeking a new battlefield where his whispers could still wound creation. A long age passed, and among men he moved like a shadow, weaving corruption into their story. His brilliance was gone, but his cunning remained.
Everything you have been told about the beginning is a lie of omission. It is a sanitized, safe, fairy tale version of reality designed to keep you sleeping. Sunday school taught you that God created the heavens and the earth, and it was good. They showed you pictures of fluffy clouds and peaceful gardens. But they skipped the crime scene. They stepped right over the yellow tape. Open your eyes, look up, look at the moon, look at the scarred red face of Mars, look at the asteroid belt, the debris of shattered worlds, look at the scars on the face of our universe, craters, wastelands, absolute desolation. Ask yourself the question your pastor refuses to answer. Why would a God of absolute perfection create a universe that looks like a bombed-out war zone? Why does the cosmos look like the aftermath of a nuclear detonation? The answer is terrifying. And it is the key to everything happening in your life right now. Before Adam took his first breath, before the Garden of Eden was even planted, there was a war. Not a skirmish, not a disagreement. A war that nearly tore the fabric of reality apart. A conflict so violent, so cataclysmic, it turned planets into dust and radiant angels into twisted, howling demons. This is not a legend. This is not mythology. This is the suppressed history of the universe that the powers that be have tried to bury for thousands of years. We are talking about the clash between the two greatest entities God ever created, the supreme archangels, the twin princes of heaven. On one side, Michael, the warrior, the defender. On the other, Lucifer, the light-bearer, the musician. They weren't just enemies, they were counterparts, and when they collided, the shockwave shattered the ancient cosmos. Today, on Bible Stories Untold, we are breaking the seal. We are ripping the cover off the forbidden history. We are going to show you why the war started, and here is the controversial truth that will make religious scholars scream in the comments. It wasn't just about pride. That's the simple answer for simple minds. It was about you. It was about your bloodline. It was a preemptive strike against the very idea of humanity. It was a war over DNA. Lucifer looked at the future, saw us, and decided to burn the laboratory down before the experiment could begin. And the war. It never actually stopped. It just changed battlefields. If you are ready to hear the truth that might shake your faith to its core, if you are brave enough to look at the darkness and find the light, you need to hit that like button right now. Do it as a declaration that you are awake. Subscribe right now. Turn on the notifications, because what we are about to reveal, the church is afraid to touch. They want you safe. We want you armed with the truth. To understand the bloodiest war in the history of the cosmos, you have to do something that feels dangerous. You have to understand the villain. You have to look into the face of the devil and realize he wasn't a villain. Not at first. He was the masterpiece. Stop imagining a red cartoon with horns and a pitchfork. That is a lie designed to make you underestimate him. Ezekiel 28 describes the entity known as Lucifer as the signet of perfection. Do you understand what that means? He wasn't just an angel. He was the blueprint. He was the standard by which beauty was measured. He was covered in every precious stone imaginable: sardius, topaz, diamond, beryl, onyx, jasper, sapphire, emerald, and carbuncle. He didn't just reflect light. He fractured it into a million colors. He walked on the stones of fire. He walked in the very presence of the burning bush and didn't burn. Scholars have debated his function for centuries, and the answer is terrifyingly beautiful. He wasn't a warrior like Michael. He didn't carry a sword. He carried a melody. The Bible explicitly says that pipes and timbrels were built into his very workmanship. He wasn't just a musician. He was a living orchestra. He was the worship leader of the cosmos. His body was celestial technology designed to resonate with the throne of God. When Lucifer moved, the universe sang. He was the frequency, the vibration that connected the creation to the Creator. He controlled the atmosphere of heaven. So, how does the most beautiful, most talented, most powerful creature in existence become the Prince of Darkness? Here is the theory that drives theologians crazy. Here is the secret history that the church is afraid to talk about. Some ancient texts and deep esoteric traditions suggest that God revealed a secret plan to the angelic host, a classified project, a plan to create a new order of being. But this new being wasn't made of fire, it wasn't made of light, it wasn't made of the eternal substance of the heavens. It was made of dirt, mud, filth. God presented the blueprint for humans, and then God dropped the nuclear bomb that shattered the peace of eternity. He said, "We will make them in our image." Lucifer, the being of pure diamonds and fire, the son of the morning, looked at the blueprint for this hairless, weak, bleeding mud creature. and he felt something he had never felt before. It wasn't just pride. It was a cold, burning jealousy. It was disgust. Why? Why would the Almighty put his spirit into a mud creature? Why would the sons of fire be commanded to serve a being made of dust? Psalm 8 asks, "What is man that you are mindful of him?" That was Lucifer's question. That was his protest. This is the controversy that you need to grasp to understand your own existence. Lucifer didn't just want to be God. That's too simple. He wanted to stop you from existing. He saw the potential in human DNA, the potential for us to one day judge angels, to rule the universe as heirs of the Father, and he decided to burn the laboratory down before the experiment could even begin. He looked at Adam's blueprint and saw a replacement. He didn't start the war with a physical attack. He was smarter than that. He started it with politics. He started it with a whisper. He went to the other angels, the ones who admired him, the ones who listened to his music, and he launched the first propaganda campaign in history. He used lies. He used fear. "The tyrant is replacing us," he whispered in the corridors of glory. "He loves the dirt monsters more than the sons of fire. He wants us to bow to them. He wants to enslave the stars to the mud." And it worked. It worked terrifyingly well. 33% of the angelic host, 1/3 of the stars of heaven, billions of ancient, powerful entities, defected. They chose the beautiful lie over the hard truth. The first conspiracy theory in history was born right there, in the throne room of God. And that conspiracy was directed at you. What does a war in heaven actually look like? Please, for the sake of your own intelligence, erase the Hollywood cartoons from your mind right now. Stop picturing men in bedsheets with bird wings slapping each other with metal sticks. That is not just inaccurate. It is an insult to the terrifying reality of the spiritual realm. We are talking about entities that would burn your eyes out if you looked at them directly. Angels are hyperdimensional beings. They exist outside the linear constraints of time and space. When they fight, they don't bleed red blood. They bleed photons. They bleed pure light. They weaponize the very fabric of physics. You need to understand the scale of this. Revelation 12 simply says Michael and his angels fought. That English word is too weak. The Greek implies a cataclysm of opposing forces. Think about who the enemy is. Ezekiel tells us Lucifer was built with timbrels and pipes. He was the musician. He was the master of sound. Imagine the entity who once conducted the worship of the throne room, turning that frequency into a weapon of mass destruction. We are talking about sonic warfare that shatters the molecular structure of reality itself. Imagine him screaming frequencies that tear dimensions apart. And standing against this wave of sonic death is Michael. And here is where I am going to make half of you angry and the other half of you terrified. We have arrived at the single most controversial question in all of theology. Who is Michael? This is the question that splits denominations. This is the question that destroys church unity. Is he just an angel? If you ask a Catholic, they say Saint Michael the Archangel, just a created being, a soldier. But go ask a Jehovah's Witness, go ask a Seventh-day Adventist. They will tell you something that would get you kicked out of a Baptist church before the service even ends. They believe Michael is not just an angel. They believe Michael is the pre-incarnate Jesus Christ. I can hear the comments section exploding already. Heresy, blasphemy. But look at the text. Stop parroting what your pastor told you and look at the evidence. The name Michael Michael literally translates to a challenge. Who is like God? And who is like God? Only the Son. Hebrews says the Son is the express image of his person. Look at the power. In 1 Thessalonians 4:16, the Lord descends with a shout, with the voice of the archangel. When Michael shouts, the dead rise. Since when do created angels have the power to resurrect the dead? Only God gives life. So you have to look at the text and ask yourself, is Michael just a general? Or is he the king in armor, stepping onto the battlefield to do what no created being could ever do? This is the identity crisis of the cosmos. But whether you believe he is Christ or the commander, one thing is undeniable. The collision between Michael and Lucifer was the greatest release of energy in the history of the universe. Lucifer represents ultimate pride. Michael represents absolute humility. Lucifer is pure chaos. Michael is divine order. When these two opposing forces slammed into each other, it didn't just break furniture in heaven, it likely broke the solar system. This is the gap theory that science refuses to acknowledge and the church is too afraid to teach. Look at Genesis 1-2. It says the earth became without form and void. In Hebrew, tohu wabohu, a wasteland, a ruin. Why would God create a ruin? He didn't. The war happened between verse 1 and verse 2. Many scholars believe that the asteroid belt isn't just random rocks floating in space. It is the debris field of a planet that was blown apart by this war. The massive scars on the surface of Mars, that isn't just erosion, that is collateral damage. That is the shrapnel from a thermonuclear war fought by spirits. The chaos of the prehistoric solar system is the graveyard of Lucifer's rebellion. Michael didn't negotiate. He didn't sit down for a debate. He didn't care about Lucifer's feelings. He drove the rebels to the absolute edge of the eternal realm. And with a force that registered on every single dimension of existence, he cast them out. They didn't trip, they were thrown. Jesus said, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Lightning, a flash, instant, violent, terminal. 1 second, Lucifer was the highest being in creation. The next second, he was a streak of burning plasma screaming through the atmosphere of a dark earth. The war in heaven ended in a nanosecond of absolute violence, but the consequences, we are still living in them. But the war didn't end. Oh no, do not make the mistake of thinking the ceasefire was signed when the lightning struck. The war didn't stop. It simply changed battlefields. It moved from the sterile, perfect dimensions of eternity to the muddy, chaotic reality of Earth. Lucifer hits the ground, not as a prisoner, but as an insurgent. He is stripped of his position, yes, but listen to me closely. He was never stripped of his power. The Bible calls him the Prince of the Power of the Air. Do you understand the physics of that title? He controls the atmosphere. He controls the frequencies. He is the master of the signal. He knows he cannot beat God in a fistfight. He tried that. He lost. So, he changes tactics. He resorts to the most terrifying strategy in the history of warfare, cosmic bioterrorism. If he cannot destroy the Creator, he decides to corrupt the Creator's image. He targets the very building blocks of life. He targets the DNA. This brings us to the crime scene that Sunday schools have been lying to you about for decades. The Garden of Eden, the serpent. Listen to me, and listen well. The fruit wasn't an apple. It wasn't a pomegranate. It was a download. It was a technological and spiritual upgrade that humanity was not authorized to install. Ye shall be as gods. Lucifer offered Eve the exact same poison that killed him. But that was just the opening move. That was just the software hack. Now we move to the hardware. We move to Genesis chapter 6. This is the most forbidden chapter in the entire Bible. This is the chapter your pastor skips because it terrifies him. This is the chapter that doesn't fit the nice, safe narrative of modern Christianity. The sons of God saw the daughters of men and took wives. Do you realize what you are reading? Fallen angels, celestial beings, having sexual intercourse with human women. This is the Nephilim controversy, and it is the key to understanding the entire Old Testament. Why did they do it? Was it just lust? Was it just perversion? No. It was a tactical, calculated military strike. Lucifer was trying to hack the human genome. He was trying to overwrite the operating system of humanity. He wanted to create a hybrid race, a chimera, part human, part demon, that possessed no soul and could not be redeemed. Think about the implications. If the bloodline of humanity is corrupted, if the DNA is polluted with dragon blood, then the Messiah cannot be born. The seed of the woman, promised in Genesis 3, cannot crush the serpent's head if the woman's DNA is no longer human. The giants you read about, the heroes of old, Hercules, Gilgamesh, these weren't myths. These were the biological weapons of Lucifer walking the earth. They were walking abominations, genetic experiments gone wrong, designed to hunt and exterminate pure humanity. This forces us to ask the most uncomfortable, the most controversial question in biblical history. Was the flood of Noah an act of cruelty? Was God just having a bad day, or was it an act of emergency sanitation? God didn't drown the world because they told lies or stole cookies. He didn't drown the world because they were merely sinful. He drowned the world because the human race was genetically compromised. The Bible says, Noah was perfect in his generations. That word generations refers to genetics. It refers to pedigree. Noah wasn't just a nice guy. He was the last pure human left on earth whose DNA hadn't been hacked by the Watchers. God had to scrub the petri dish. He had to unleash the chemotherapy to save the patient. Michael and the loyal angels stood on the edge of the storm and watched as the water cleansed the lab. They watched the hybrids drown. They watched the biological weapons of the enemy sink into the abyss. They thought it was over. They thought the integrity of the human race was secured. But the Bible drops one final terrifying sentence that should send shivers down your spine. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that. The infection survived. The virus found a way through. And if you think this genetic war is ancient history, you are asleep at the wheel. Look around you. The war for your DNA has never been more active than it is right now. Fast forward to the year 2026. Take a hard look at the world burning around you. You turn on the news, and what do you see? Wars, rumors of wars, civil unrest, political chaos that defies all logic. You are being programmed to believe this is just a clash of ideologies. You think this is just Democrats versus Republicans? You think this is just the East versus the West, or capitalism versus communism? Wake up. You are watching a puppet show designed to keep you distracted while the theater burns down. The Bible warned us explicitly in Ephesians chapter 6, and yet the modern church is sleeping through the alarm. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. Stop fighting your neighbor. Stop fighting the politicians. They are just the pawns. The entities that Michael cast down thousands of years ago, they are still here. They didn't die. Spirits don't die. They just change their masks. Where are they? You've been told they are in hell. The Bible calls them the principalities and powers in high places. They are in the atmosphere. They are in the boardrooms. They are whispering into the ears of the elite. And here is the most controversial truth that is going to get this video suppressed, but I have to say it. Look at the obsession with UFOs today. Look at the Pentagon releasing videos. Look at the government hearings. They stopped calling them UFOs. Now they are UAPs. They are slowly, methodically, disclosure dripping the narrative that we are not alone. They want you to believe that advanced biological entities are coming from Zeta Reticuli to save us or teach us. What if I told you that the entire extraterrestrial narrative is the greatest deception in human history? What if they aren't extraterrestrial at all? What if they are interdimensional? The Bible tells us exactly who these beings are. They are the fallen ones. They are the watchers. They are the same entities that corrupted the world in the days of Noah, and they are putting on a costume of technology and aliens to prepare the world for the final deception. They aren't coming to save you. They are coming to harvest you. Lucifer is a strategist, and he knows his time is mathematically running out. Revelation 12:12 screams this warning. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath. Why does he have wrath? Because he sees the calendar. He is rebuilding his Tower of Babel right in front of your face. But this time, he isn't using bricks and mortar. He isn't using stone. He is using silicon. He is using code. Look at the rise of artificial intelligence. Look at the push for transhumanism. The merging of man and machine, neural links, uploading consciousness. Do you not see the pattern? It is the exact same lie the serpent hissed in the Garden of Eden. Ye shall be as gods. He is trying to finish what he started in Genesis 6. In the days of Noah, he tried to corrupt the human bloodline with demon DNA. Today, he is trying to corrupt the human image with synthetic integration. If you are no longer fully human, can you still be redeemed by the kinsman redeemer? That is the question the theologians are too terrified to ask. And where is the archangel? Where is the protector? Daniel 12:1 gives us the prophecy that should make every single person watching this tremble in their spirit. At that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. You need to understand the Hebrew implication of stand up. For thousands of years, Michael has been the restrainer. He is the dam that keeps the demons at bay. But the prophecy says there is a specific moment, a terrifying second in time, where Michael stands up. He steps aside. He removes the restraint. We are approaching the time when Michael stands up again, and when he does, the dam breaks. The spiritual protection over the nations is lifted, and what follows isn't just a war, it is hell on earth. The Great Tribulation begins not because God is cruel, but because the protector has been told to stand down. We are living in the final seconds of the age of grace, staring down the barrel of the age of judgment. The invisible war is about to become visible. Are you ready for what happens when the veil tears? Stop what you are doing. Right now. Do not scroll away. You need to listen closely, because this is not a story from a dusty book. This is a survival guide. You have been conditioned to believe the war in heaven is ancient history, a fairy tale from a galaxy far away. That is the single greatest lie you have ever been told. This is not history. This is current events. Right now, as you breathe, a war is raging. It is not fought with tanks or nukes, not yet. It is a silent, violent, invisible war for the territory of your mind, for your specific bloodline, and for your eternal soul. And here is the terrifying truth. The world is too blind to see. You are losing. We are losing because we don't even know we are on a battlefield. Lucifer is betting everything that you are too distracted by TikTok, too sedated by Netflix, and too enraged by politics to notice the knife at your throat. He has weaponized your dopamine. He has designed a world of perfect noise, so you cannot hear the sound of the sword being unsheathed. He wants you asleep. He wants you numb. His deception goes deeper than distraction. We are living in the age of the ultimate gaslight. He wants you to believe he is a myth, or worse, he wants you to believe he is the light bringer who was misunderstood. You hear it everywhere. Lucifer was the liberator. That is the doctrine of demons. It is the oldest lie in the universe. He is not a rebel with a cause. He is a cosmic serial killer who hates you because you bear the image of the God he failed to overthrow. He loathes your DNA. He despises your existence, and he is laughing while you defend him. But he is not the only one watching. Michael. Daniel 12 tells us Michael will stand up. Do you understand the implication? For thousands of years, a divine restraint has held back the full measure of supernatural judgment. Michael is the dam holding back the flood, but he is watching the clock. Can you imagine the tension in the spiritual realm? The archangel who cast the dragon out is standing with his hand on his sword, waiting for the Father to say, "Time is up." We are living in the final seconds of that clock. This final battle won't be fought with guns. It will be fought with allegiance. It is a binary choice. There is no middle ground. The fence belongs to the devil. Whose side are you on? The pride that says, "I am my own God," the Luciferian spirit, or the faith that bows before the King of Kings? The war in heaven was the prologue. The war on earth is the finale. The enemy knows his time is short. That is why the world is descending into chaos. The trumpet is about to sound. The physics of our reality are about to shatter. The dimensional veil is wearing thin, and it is going to tear. When it does, you will see them. You will see Michael. You will see the dragon. You will see the entities manipulating human history exposed in the cold light of judgment. Don't be on the wrong side of history. Don't be a casualty in a war you didn't know you were fighting. I am pleading with you. Wake up. If you felt a chill down your spine, that is the Spirit of Truth waking you up. You need to join this battalion. We are building a community of watchmen who refuse to be blinded. Smash that like button like it's the dragon's head. Subscribe and turn on the bell because the algorithm tries to hide this hierarchy. They want you isolated. By subscribing, you tell the system you are not afraid of the truth. Comment below in all caps, "I stand with the light." Let the enemy know he has failed to blind us. The war is here. Are you ready?